Hey everybody, it's Jimmy from the DIY and Digital, and it's time for another edition of Dollar Store Model Railroad Finds. Welcome back everybody. First of all, if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss any updates like this video. So it's time for another edition of Dollar Store Model Railroad Finds. And for those of you that have not watched this before, what I do is I take $5 to the dollar store and see what I can find for model railroading. So let's get started. My first item on this list is a sanding block, and this is definitely a sort of utility tool that you can use all over your layout. Although there is a bit of a discussion on whether or not you want to use this to clean your track. Some people use these to clean your track, but actually worry about the abrasions that it creates and the scratches that it creates actually attracting more dust. And there's also people that prefer using something like a Bright Boy. But a sanding block is good for a lot of different things, smoothing out roads. It's one thing I've definitely used it for, and they're just a good thing to have on hand on your layout. Our next item is an LED light with a little switch. This was only $1, of course, at the dollar store, and these are really great for things like under cabinet lighting, and they're really great if you want to just have simple lights for utility purposes, getting under, doing some rewiring, where it's normally going to be really dark under your layout. Next up, we have some Spanish moss, and this is another thing that's you kind of got to figure out a place to put it, but once you figure out where you want it to go, it is a really good scenery tool. It's good for some underbrush. You can probably do some large scale overgrowth, just all sorts of things that this is capable of. You can paint it, you can do all sorts of stuff with it. That's some Spanish moss from the floral section of the dollar store. Next up, we have some reusable rubber gloves. Now, model railroading can get really messy, and a lot of times you want to protect your hands. I know I do, and I typically use disposable nitride gloves. But if you want to save a little bit of money, especially when you're painting or you're using some chemicals to do something, these reusable rubber gloves are a great option for that. Just make sure that any chemicals you are using can be held off and you can get protection from these rubber gloves. And last but certainly not least on this trip is these little garden signs. Now, what can you use these for? All sorts of things. I can totally see someone using these as the basis for scratch building a billboard in N-scale, or maybe even a small billboard in HO scale. And for the larger scales, these can definitely work as some signage. So that's these little garden signs for plants at the dollar store. So that's it for this edition of Dollar Store Model Railroad Finds, and I do have a little bit of news about the Dollar Store Model Railroad Finds series. I may be changing it up just a little bit because I think I have picked through just about everything original in your standard dollar store. I may be going to some different stores, maybe finding some stuff that's more than $1 but is still a lot cheaper, and we're going to be talking some budget buys. So I'm still trying to figure out where Dollar Store Model Railroad Finds is going to go, but it may transition into some more budget buys. So I just want to give you guys a heads up on that. I would love to know what kind of budget buys you find for model railroading. Go ahead and leave that in the comments below. And if you haven't already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that bell icon so that you don't miss any updates like this video. Until next time, I'm Jimmy from the DIY and Digital. Happy railroading!